Right, so hey everyone and welcome back to another budget photography video. So, I want to have a talk with you. Yes, you. Fellow photographer out there through this lens, this worldwide internet. I want to have a word with you and all other photographers because you're starting to annoy me. You are. You're really starting to... I'm trying to keep this family friendly now. You know what? Stuff it. You're p***ing me off. You really are p***ing me off. Now, I'm relatively new to the photography industry. I am. I only started about 5, maybe 6 years ago. So I am, in comparison to some people that have been doing this for 30 odd years, I'm still classed as a baby in this industry, but that's fine. And I want to backtrack a little bit because when I first started out, I brought this £150 camera called the Sony A230. I have many fond memories of it, and it was my first ever DSLR. Like, it wasn't professional, it wasn't very good, it had 10 megapixels, and it had the standard 18 to 55 kit lens, and the images were rubbish. Let's face it, they were rubbish. But that's what amazed me about photography was that, lots of different... Anyway, I'm getting beyond the point. When I first started, I did what most people do when they first get into photography. And that is switch your camera into auto mode, because you need to focus on your composition and then your settings. And auto mode gives you that. Auto mode lets the camera decide the settings so you can decide what to shoot. And composition is going to be a big part of this video. Now, 5 or 6 years down the line, I'm now shooting full frame Canons and I'm considered a professional. I just consider myself a photographer. And the main thing that I shoot is events. I'm an events photographer. I enjoy it, believe it or not. It's stressful. It's for me, it's enjoyable. I enjoy my job. And you know what? I still shoot in auto mode. Sometimes full auto, sometimes in P or TV or whatever it is, because I need it. So, recently I kind of upgraded to this, the 1D Mark IV, which it's a beast, I'll be fair. 10 FPS, dual card slots, stuff like that. And it only has a full manual mode, a P mode, a TV mode, an AV, whatever the hell Canon call it, but it's got shutter, aperture, and full manual, stuff like that. And that's fine. I can work all the settings. But if we go back a little bit to one of my previous cameras, the Canon 5D Mark II, again, a really old but really good camera. I love this thing. Don't get me wrong. I love this thing. And 9 times out of 10, yeah, I was in full manual mode, which means that I can control the shutter speed, the aperture, the ISO, how many of them it can do. It can't do obviously as many as the 1D, but that's not the point. So this is a semi-professional camera. This is, basically kind of like the R5 today. It's still a really good camera. I've got a whole review on this. Go check that out as well. But this has something the 1D doesn't have, and that is a full auto mode where I can flick it all the way back to and not worry about my settings. Now, I do lose some things like the burst mode. So if I keep my finger on there, it just takes one picture and I can't change that. That's fine. But sometimes you're going from outside to inside really rather quickly. Like, really quickly. To the point of where you might not be able to change your settings. So it's nice to know, for me, that let's say I'm shooting at what? We're shooting outside and I'm shooting at, I don't know, 1/1600th of a second. And let's go with an ISO of ISO 400. I know, there's just two settings that I found on here. Can't change the aperture, there's no lens. So that would be okay-ish for outside, because the shutter speed is nice and quickish. We've got a low ISO, and we can change the aperture accordingly. But a lot of the time, as I said, I have to go from outside to inside, and I don't want to just change my settings. I just switch to auto mode. I do, because sometimes, as I said, I don't have time to change my settings. I don't. I really don't always have time. 90% of the time, yes, I can change my settings. I can change my aperture, my shutter speed, and whatever else I need. But there's that 10% of the time of when I can't change my settings because I don't have the time. I just change the dial quickly and I let the camera do it. And sometimes it does fail on me. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it decides, yeah, let's bring the shutter speed nice and high to, I don't know, say 1/2000th of a second. And then we'll bring the ISO all the way up to 32 or 40 odd, whatever it is, thousand. And the pictures can and have once looked a grainy mess. But other pictures that I'd taken in that same situation under manual control were better because I was able to lower the shutter speed and I lowered the ISO. But again, it depends on what I was shooting. So what I'm trying to get at here is your composition comes first. 9 times out of 10, your client don't care about a little bit of noise. And you can hide a little bit in editing. I wouldn't recommend relying on it. I would recommend using it as a tool that you need when you need it. The same as auto mode. And what I'm getting at here with this whole video is I've seen a lot of photographers online, mainly on Instagram and TikTok, kind of taking the mick out of people that use auto mode. And there's no shame in using auto mode. If you don't want to use auto mode, that's down to you. That is fine. But there are people that do use auto mode because they want to worry about composition first, or they just don't have the time. And we can't exclude them because they've decided to shoot auto mode. What is wrong with you as a photographer? I don't class you as a photographer if you take the mick out of people using auto mode. Just be a nice person about it. If you don't agree, that's fine. You don't have to use auto mode. No one makes you use it. But for the ones that do want to use it, let them use it. Photography is an art. And art is in the eye of the beholder. And art is subjective. Anyway, guys, next video will probably be a documentary or a review. I'm working on 2 videos at the same time. Hopefully, I won't have to talk about this again. And I will see you in the next one.